When I finally finished my game after working on it for 6 years, one of the first things I wanted to do was track down and play the game it was loosely inspired on, Sega's Jambo Safari. Yeah, that's right. I spent 6 years making a game. I didn't even play its biggest influence. I wanted to come up with something unique. So on that note, what was Sega's Jambo Safari actually like? Was it worth playing before making my game? And what lessons might I learn from it? Let's dive in. I had a hot tip where I could find a Jambo Safari arcade machine. Coming on to Jambo Safari finally, I was surprised to find out it was on a Crazy Taxi arcade cabinet with a steering wheel, but some, decals from Crazy Taxi on it. Not really what I expected, but what should I have? It's a Jeep, you're driving around. But maybe I was thinking might be more like an arcade controller setup. I did know you do have to rope animals and catch them. You do have beginner and expert mode at first. I chose beginner mode. But yeah, even here you see it's like Crazy Taxi where you can choose from 4 different characters at the start. Just the feel, it's 1999, Sega Dreamcast era. Right off the bat, not much of a chase to get a gazelle right in front of your sights. And the game kind of does a quick tutorial about how to catch one of them. There's a neat lever on the machine. That lever you kind of pull back to start charging up the lasso. As soon as the animal is in your sights, you kind of line up these 2 circles. Felt really intuitive while driving around. You just kind of have to align the Jeep with the animal, kind of center it for a bit. The cursor will turn green. Then you press forward on the lever and you throw the lasso. Great sound effects to kind of indicate if you'll be in range or not. Now in the second phase, the animal is running more wildly. It's a little harder, but once again, you have to kind of do the same thing, but to throw a net on the animal and catch it. And it's different. Once you're in range of the net, it shifts to first person. It really brings you closer to the action and kind of heightens the tension. All the bumps, you feel them that much more. The dust is in your face. I didn't really notice at first. It's subtle, but it does make it more thrilling and exciting. And also, too, being closer to the animal in the view, as it's weaving side to side out of view, like you can't really see it as often. The driving itself might become more erratic. What's kind of a fake tension here, though, there's a meter, an attention meter, how the rope strength is holding up, and it'll turn red to warn you. Good sound effect of a rope getting taut. But looking back at my footage, I never actually had the rope break once. It's really forgiving, and I think it's just there to kind of encourage you to line up with the animal. I'd probably have to go back and try to break the rope. I think it's there just to give the sensation of being hauled along by this animal. Animals can drop different time extensions or rocks or skulls to kind of throw you off. It's really tricky to get them at tougher ones. They're kind of trying to burn your time. This is an arcade game. They're trying to eat up as much of the clock as possible, so you have to put in another coin. But here we are actually netting an animal. You get a time extension, you get points. The time extension will vary depending on how tough the animal was. With the starting off gazelle, it's only 1 star, and I've seen them get as high as level 7. The surprising thing though, it just ends, and you have to start over again. Now starting off on the second animal on beginner mode, you get to start off with binoculars. The game will kind of lock onto that target, even if it's way off in the distance. I like the effect here, how quick it is. And you'll have a huge giant arrow guiding you to it at first. But this is a weak point of Jambo Safari, I find. Traveling on the savannah, the plain, it's a slow process. Like there is a boost you learn about that makes it faster and more entertaining. In the boost mode, you can't turn as quickly. So some quicker animals, when you're boosting to catch up to them, you really have to pick your spots. If you compare it to Crazy Taxi, they'd be weaving through traffic, drifting, trying to get points. There'd be way more little moments to get a higher score. And that isn't here in Jambo Safari. Like you can run into animals and it will like stop you briefly. It's pretty forgiving. Like it'll be a quick hop in the air. I find they probably limited the scope in this game to get it to the arcade, see how it does, and decide on release later. Like, hey, they picked their spots. They wanted the animal reeling and netting to be the highlight of the game. That is where it shines. So the rest is slim pickings. And taking a look at the UI here, we got the traditional arcade staples like score and time. This animal radar overhead map is handy. Like maybe this animal you're going for is a little bit too far. You can see other ones close by to aim for instead. And it is neat. You come across different herds. You kind of get your choice of which animal to pick from them. And most importantly, there are these 3 crates at the very top. These crates indicate the animals you've collected in this level. You want to be picking like the most valuable animals that you can in the time you have left. Ideally getting animals with the highest star rank. And something pretty cool too I've noticed is animals have moods. They can be cheeky little buggers, especially if you miss them on a net or can't catch them, winking at you or sticking out their tongue. They can be angry. Some animals have fire icon over them. Maybe they've been really pissed off. And this is a good solution to see the icons. I mean, the animals are so small in the distance. If they were animated, like first of all, that takes more time to animate the different moods, and it would kind of be adding personality on them instead of just acting as an animal. You also find a king animal in some herds, like an easy way to know that is the most valuable one. Like not all rhinos are made equal. These animals too, they have an exclamation mark over their head, like what is this, Metal Gear? Like they know I'm coming, they start bolting off in the distance. And when they're bolting off too, like these dust clouds, I find they help with the visibility of them and giving a sense of speed. So here too, on the third animal beginner I was up against, it's a hyena. It's a little shiftier, it's trickier to catch, it's taking a bit longer, but it's kind of what you expect, like building up the difficulty. Catching all 3 in one level, research completed. Research in quotes. You get a neat little summary screen before moving on to the next level, which after one set of 3 animals, you have a boss stage. In this case, it was a cheetah. It's not just one cheetah in the stage. You do get to pick through a few of them, which helps. Like some of them are harder than others, but only one animal type here. Bosses, though, are kind of like a choke point in the game. And if you're running out of time on some of the final bosses, you can't add any more coins. It's kind of surprising. They almost want you to start over again. Like you can pump in coins at any other time. It's almost always pay to win, except in the end bosses. And we get a new end results screen. Pretty good loop of catch 3 animals on a stage and then a boss. There is a top 20 on the arcade machine back when those were leaderboards. When I went to expert mode after, one difference is that the second area has 4 crates, so you have 4 animals that you can catch. Animals are definitely tougher, like going after rhinos, giraffes. The rhino would actually come back and charge at me, and that to me was the one annoying part of the game. Animals that would come back because there's limited mobility on a Jeep. It's kind of hard to do a quick 180 turn. When they come charge right at you, the line isn't taut anymore. It's kind of unexpected, and it also makes the window of time to actually lasso or net an animal really short. It does add to the skill to it, but I kind of find it does in a cheap way. When I'm trying to catch a lion here, it's running, it's kind of jumping, it's trying to shake me off. That I can understand, but when an animal comes right back at me, turning the tables on me, truly, it's just something I didn't enjoy as much in this game. One thing too that wasn't in my footage here, but I did play that day, is that I tried a couple of the bonus missions. Sometimes it'll be question marks out in the distance, and it might be another human out there that needs a hand with something like maybe their monkey stole their glasses, and they were caught up in a tree, but I couldn't figure out how to get those down. I couldn't figure out the missions. That's probably something I might have to look up first, or just hope I figure it out. And here's the farthest point I got in Jambo Safari, the saber-toothed tiger boss, which was huge. An intimidating scene at night with a helicopter going around with a searchlight looking on the area. I had trouble even lassoing this. And here in this footage, I only had, a minute or so to try to catch it. Compared to the difficulty I had in the lion earlier, this would take another level of skill to get over. I did not catch it. Neat end scene here with all the different animals, creatures that I caught on this run. I'll say this is one day that I said I'm worth it, and I treated myself to over 25 coins I put into the machine, until eventually it crashed on one of those missions I was talking about, the bonus missions. I said spam a send to the guy running the arcade, and that was it. I was probably playing it somewhere between an hour and a half. Probably the most I've ever played an arcade machine in one sitting, or one standing. Yeah, so if I'd go back, I'd consider maybe tracking down some footage first for tips, or maybe I'd try one of the console versions. Jambo Safari, though, as an arcade experience was great, but not the same as Crazy Taxi. I think having played that, having like another experience is super cool. But, you know, I'd probably put it around the 6 and 7 range if I had to play it like a ton of hours. It's an arcade game. It doesn't have to be a huge game. It had a really neat focus session. I'd say what it did with lassoing animals did well, and a pretty good variety of different types of animals to get to, like incentive to come back, try to catch different ones. But now to reflect on some things that Carpoon did similar to Jambo Safari and what I did differently. So some things that are similar from Carpoon and Jambo Safari is they both have a hunting and catching phase. That's probably something I caught from watching the video early on. Jambo's hunting phase is much longer than Carpoon, and maybe the fighting with the animal, the reeling in part, so to speak, that's maybe more like what I wish Carpoon could have been. Starting off with my first decently big game for Carpoon, that's something I had trouble with because I decided on using GameMaker's physics engine. It was super easy for collision detection. But later on, I found out you can't really change the weight of an object on the fly, and it was hard for me to figure out how to make, let's say, a car drag the player truck along. Also, like the rope turns red in Jambo Safari when it's getting too tight. It doesn't immediately break, but it kind of gives that sensation. In Carpoon, I had come up with a solution to try to make the rope thinner when it was getting tight, but it could have been when it gets to a point that it's easy to snap. And ultimately, the rope thickness is just sort of a visual effect. It doesn't actually happen in gameplay. Like in Versus, you can cut a rope, but that's about it. So Jambo's speed boost, Carpoon doesn't really have one of those. The closest is drifting. You do speed up the longer you drift. Now netting an animal in Jambo Safari, it just kind of stops there. I find that a little bit, I don't know. It's a neat reward with the cutscene and stuff, but I guess I don't know what would have happened. Like if you just left an animal there and it was caught with a net, do you just keep moving on? But in Carpoon, I'm happy with that. You drag cars back to the crusher. It's kind of my statement, having less cars around for the environment. They get destroyed and you keep going. It's immediate. Part of that too is kind of needed when I shifted to multiplayer. The way bigger focus on single battles in Jambo Safari. Maybe I could have done that in Carpoon with bosses, but I feel that the gameplay experience would have been even shorter. And it would have taken a lot more time to create boss art and would have added a lot of scope. Maybe more memorable that way, but a lot more work. With the animals coming back to the player, there is something similar to that in Carpoon right now. It's the thing that annoys me the most that I'll probably go in and update. Cars are fleeing in Carpoon when they're trying to escape the stage. They will come towards you when you're dragging them towards the crusher. I hate that. It'll kind of result in crushing yourself sometimes. And although the animal is running away from you, maybe I should have had it where cars have different moods. Maybe they would get afraid and try to be away from you. The only car that actually does flee from the player is the gold car in the AutoWorks. It'll try to stay off the same kind of platform you're on. It'll try to move to another one when that happens. Creates a bit of a chase, makes it a bit harder to get the gold car. With animal moods, that's a neat idea. The closest I come in Carpoon is there's the googly eyes. You kind of see different expressions at times. Like if something with the car is harpooned, they're like bulging out. If another player has crashed you, you kind of get the bender evil eyes, as I call them. Probably something I could have pushed further. I think time bonuses in Jambo Safari is done well, like how animals drop time or drop things that might affect you. Like I did think of cars leaking oil as you're chasing them, and there's spinning out in Carpoon on tiers. And finally, the scoring summary, showing all the animals. I show all the cars, but mine admittedly is more Zelda 4 Swords. When you see all the scores stack up, see who's winning. But it's nice to see like everything you've caught on one screen at the end. But now for the final section, different lessons I've learned from this, and maybe different things I've learned over the course of developing Carpoon that might have maybe had a different perspective had I done this all again. So while I didn't play Jambo Safari before setting out on Carpoon and trying to be totally unique, one thing I have heard is that it's okay to put your own spin on something that exists. All your life experiences will result in a different product. Having your own vision on something is okay. Some quick examples. Eric Baroni playing a lot of Harvest Moon, loving that game, creating Stardew Valley. Toby Fox, loving the Mother series, creating Undertale. XCOM and what, could have been done better than that, helping form Tactical Breach Wizards. It's an okay thing to do. I would have been allowed to play Jambo Safari and come up with Carpoon. I'm sure the hardest parts would have been the different technical limitations I had at the time, and my skill level in trying to figure out how to harpoon an object and hold on to that and try to reel it in. Kind of putting my own life experience of reeling. That's one thing I wish I could have done in Carpoon better. I like fishing. Fishing, I would say, is a lot different in real life than it is in games, especially river fishing. Very active compared to waiting around. When you're fishing, you're constantly mending the line, watching it, trying to see what's happening. And then reeling in, you're trying to keep the tension in. You're trying to tire out the fish. You don't want it too slack or they get off. The fish is coming into you. You have to keep reeling to keep the line tight. Maybe the fish hauls you off. That's an aspect of Carpoon I wish I pushed further. Even if I knew what Jambo Safari is like, I probably would have run into some technical limitations that maybe I have to come up with my own solution on and what could work best under the circumstances. And truly, the biggest hurdle for a game is simply finishing it. That's one thing I learned. Another lesson I learned trying to come up with something really unique is that if something's too new, too unique, it'll just be too different for people to pick up and play. It won't appeal to enough people. It'd be too different. An example that comes to mind is Arco, which I still have to play. It was really well regarded, but it was just too different and it didn't sell well financially. Kind of like with the radio, when a new song comes along, they try to put it in with the old hits so you get used to it. If they just put all new music, you'd probably just switch the station. And also, I was listening to a talk by the creator of Astrobot. It is important to have some gameplay that a player is used to while putting in new, fresh moments. They can't just have all entirely new, fresh moments. That just is off-putting to the player. Maybe thinking, this is my one shot, better make something totally unique as a game. It wasn't really needed. I could have maybe just said, I'm going to make my own Pac-Man or something. Played that a lot, released it, and make more games instead of trying to figure out gameplay for a totally new game. The experience of releasing many smaller games to prototype, polish, and release, if I had done that more times, that might have been more valuable to me. And I will admit, it's not like Carpoon didn't have influences of games that I did play and do love. For instance, Carpoon's playable player select area. That's Treadnoughts, crossed with Brave Little Toaster. Googly Eyes, Banjo. Card clapping, Smash Brothers. Yeah, and having played it, would I have changed anything different for Carpoon? Maybe I would have done that 3 crate situation where, you have 3 different chances. Maybe that would have helped me encouraged me to add a more variety to the cars and set a little time limit for what you could do in one wave. Would Carpoon have stayed single player, not multiplayer? I don't think so. I was kind of getting tired of people asking, is this a mobile game when it was single player? And I love multiplayer with friends too much. Cars having emotions, I think I would have played with that more. Have them run away from you. Definitely play with cars holding you along. That's something I would have added in. But that all would have depended on if I could have programmed that in, and it could have changed in a moment if I play tested it and people just weren't liking it. I would have to come up with some new solution. Just because it's in Jambo Safari doesn't mean it would have worked in Carpoon. So finally, in conclusion, I think it is good to, deeply play and understand games. Deeply knowing a game I might have been inspired on, it's okay to have a game as influence and put my own spin on it. It's good to know what worked and what didn't. I could think of ways that a game could have been made better, what annoyed me. Maybe it would have helped that I wasn't figuring out what to do on some levels for a couple years at times. Maybe life doesn't always have to be hard mode. Not everything has to be super unique. We hear Chris Zukowski saying about how indie devs, should be trying to make a horror game right now or a crafty game. Those do super well on Steam. Because I knew couch co-op games weren't that popular on Steam, but I just love them. Carpoon was basically built to play with my friends, to have a good time. That's what I hoped. A second goal is that I hope friends can also play Carpoon with their friends and have a good time. I don't think it would have been a shortcut looking back to have played Jambo Safari. I don't regret not doing it though. I do appreciate that it gave me a chance to think about game design and come up with something unique. Although I still know I have to improve on that, seeing the Sakurai series and risk and reward and all that. But yeah, in the end, not everything has to be a hard mode. Although I have no regrets in my decision. Probably wouldn't do it again. But I thought it was kind of funny to reflect and look back on it. So thank you guys. Good luck with whatever you're making. Still some more updates to Carpoon to come. Have a great day.